I got it going now. Let's go play Legos. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go. I don't have anybody in here. Go inside. We'll be right there.
Should we keep your wallet very secure?
Yeah, exclamation point.
It's password with dollar signs for the United States. Nobody ever
You
makes
spelled delete wrong. That's your first problem.
It's not no.
You literally told me to come here, so I did.
Training gonna be like this the whole time?
Yes. This is my third time with this stream. Dave. Bring your email, trust me.
I know, that's why it's so secure. That's not keyboard.
If you guys don't have a great iPad,
Screwdriver.
but do you have enough for everybody? We want everybody to have an iPad.
Okay.
So there's extra.
Years ago. There's two of them on. I can't have the first two. What are you? 6-engine one, so it's done, right? This is the young guy.
There's some more like safety, so I coded on the back. I had to put sticky notes on the side.
You get big iPads. What size is that? I'm supposed to do something now. This year.
You can change your password. Like, oh, here.
Shoot, so try to log out, be George this weekend.
Explain it. PAGEL.
How do you get it? Listen, you're grabbing kids? Are you? No, I think I'm going to feels good. There's two guys on my side there. Else?
It's not broken.
Now, I'm kidding.
It's operator error.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I know what the password is. I'm sure.
Okay, what's your password?
What's that else?
Oh my
Like, what kind we're back there today, and so like, well, yeah. No, what the heck? Didn't sign up for this headquarters. Did you do your name or? Yeah. We were actually doing it personal or is it headquarters?
No, it's your Windows login. So whatever you use to get on the computer in the station or your Windows, your email.
How did that? Where did you get linked to? Oh, that's how.
Operators are.
You sit down the street. One or two calls. Like a lots of stuff.
They need to. Oh, is it being a bitch again?
The presenter calls in here, look, we all got it. Pick up the deal and after I came.
So yesterday we had an issue with the iPad showing up on screen.
You said, you just said, well, so that's just a matter of two buttons, you know. The old guys like that. Text that. He's text that. Website. Who is this? And then goes. Devins will be here in the afternoon. Where are they coming up? Hey, I have no problems. They're morning, man. 4 engines in here.
You were the least I was worried about, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, logged in, just fine.
Perfect. Has everybody else been able to log in? Are you in? Because we've had a lot of problems. Yep. Okay, that's what I figured was gonna happen. Sure.
Well, you can really only have seen it. No, this chat's bigger than you change your Oh, layers. You know, there's that. I was over in there for the That guy came up to me and said,
It wasn't.
I mean, a lot of people before skippers walked in, blue jersey, blue socks. He's like, you see there.
See, I had a person yesterday.
He's wearing.
We actually have found him in Mr. Howell.
It's 20 degrees. Yeah, I was like, just like, we're like, yeah, he's
No, but
out of it. So,
that is right. I don't know. You can't.
other guy would be walking over.
It's really been his whole system like to be a dick.
So that's like, if he's, yeah. I was like, I'm just gonna. I think he's got a couple hours.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. It's like there's a system here, fellas.
Yeah.
Seven hundred coming down?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say, I did like some, I'm sure we switched them.
No, it's should be coming down on Zell.
Oh, that explains on where.
Huh?
That explains who Jeff is right now, though.
Yeah. 11 should be, yeah. Oh, you're here. Okay, yeah.
I don't have problems with that.
It's not good, yeah.
I mean,
Problems, you guys all drinking. I don't know if it was the headquarters lobby or not.
11's white. I figured it was gonna be a
it's fixed today.
But that was 16.
Update, they do this update fails. Like, I'm not gonna successfully do update.
Still,
They've been-
There you go. They printed it. Wait, maybe I'll first you go there.
Doing it.
This is what the back goes.
So just sit down, don't touch it. And all set up.
I didn't change it. I just made a choice. So I'll make it like everything I got.
If it's there, slash, then just get rid of it.
Yeah.
In Pakistan.
And I saw you next to all of and so this is.
Norman said here.
All right, you go to do your bed. If this is your second time sitting in here, you can leave if you want.
Yes.
You don't have to sit through this again.
All right.
All right.
I need the video. Whatever you have to do.
We have all of a sudden beyond track.
Norman is the other one. I think he's already has. It's what it is. So he has that.
I can shut that if you're.
All right, I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna give you guys a quick, dirty run through of first deal.
Very dirty.
Hold on, 5 seconds before we even get there. This is being recorded for people to submit. So audio is being recorded. I got up as soon as I could.
And who is the person we're most worried about saying inappropriate things?
Allie.
Just say it.
So, disclosure, it is being recorded. Cashier's doing the recording.
No, he's not. That's who's on FMLA.
That's right.
You're doing the recording.
I'm doing the recording somehow.
Yeah.
So, we are going to go through a quick slideshow that Esther had put together for us, just some of the background information on why we're doing this. And then I will give you guys a run through of the program itself, starting with how to change the user settings. And then mainly we're going to focus on incident list and writing out reports for instances today. And then with some extra time, we are going to make an attempt at doing a practice run at the end. With that said, we found, and I'm assuming it happened on A shift too, when you run 20 iPads in this room, it crashes the internet. So it will be extremely, well, it's in this room. It will be extremely clunky. things will not do what they're supposed to do. They will display multiple fields at the same time, and it will give you a horrible experience. Just letting you know. It is not the program. It is trying to run this many devices in a small area off our access point. So
Manage your expectations.
yeah, just I don't want you guys thinking this is the coolest thing in the world, and by the end of the class thinking this is worse than what we currently have. Because I think we're all in agreement you can't get any worse than what we have. So. So with that said, the main reason we are making this change, or at least we were able to get IT to make the change for us, is because we need to upgrade to nearest reporting standards, and First Stu is going to make that happen for us. Our objectives today, mainly to explain the change in nearest and First Stu, the basic understanding of First Stu's landing page, teach all members how to complete multiple types of reports, mainly the medicals, explain the ongoing efforts prior to launch, and some best practices that we can hopefully get you guys used to. Why are we doing the switch? The federal government decided to make some changes. They want to change from NFIRS reporting to NEARS reporting. Aegis does not support NEARS reporting standard. They are not willing to make any changes because they bought the platform and they're getting rid of the platform. So they don't want to invest the time and money into it. So earlier this spring, Chief Latner and his team talked to a bunch of multiple software vendors.
Allie and her team.
Allie and her team. Well, you know, part of it. They received five bids, and out of the five, 3 of them were worth entertaining, and out of the 3, First Stu was the most financially and logically best candidate for making our move. We're not doing this just on reporting for incident reports. We're also doing this for managing assets. We're doing this for scheduling. We're doing this for investigations, and all that was taken into consideration when comparing the platforms. Some of the platforms, they didn't have platforms yet. They want to just custom build us something and charge us a lot of money for it. So.
And before we go any further, I got to give a shout out to Captain Tessier for all the time and effort he put into making sure this kit went off without a hitch and making sure that we were ready to go in January.
Yep. You would like to thank them both.
Right.
Sponsored by 500. Mainly thank his very patient wife that has tolerated him.
Yeah.
So NFIRS and ERS, they are the same, but they're not the same. They're reporting standards. So NFIRS reporting standard wants certain pieces of data, and ERS wants similar pieces of data, just slightly different. And to accomplish that, we need to go from Aegis to First Stu. We will be making that change at midnight on the 31st. If a call comes in and the ICR is created prior to midnight, it's prior to the end of 2025, that call will get reported in Aegis. So if the call is created before 2026 starts, that call will go into Aegis. Even if you complete your call at 1:30 in the morning, it still gets put into Aegis. Any call, any ICR that's created after the stroke of midnight and January 1st, 2026 happens, that call will get reported into First Stu. With First Stu, we have 2 ways of interacting with it. We have a web application that we're going to show you on the left screen, and we will log into the iPad on the right-hand screen. There are slight differences between the two, but they are both functionally the same, and navigationally they're about the same as well. The app is supposedly a little bit faster response. It's just a little bit harder to navigate because you have a smaller screen to work with and you're moving things around with your fingers. But there's also less clutter than web-based. Web browser has more tabs, easier to view the large items. Both are going to consist of dashboards, scheduling, incident documentation, and asset management. And then we'll work on the app, clicking on the menu, getting around the incident documentation, and selecting your incident. As far as filling out reports are concerned, there are red fields. just like we're kind of used to in Aegis, but these are a lot easier to see. They're highlighted. They got dots on the tabs that need more attention. It, for the most part, updates in real time. It takes a couple seconds sometimes to update. And then not only are there the red fields that you need to make nearest happy, the component of nearest happy, but we also have best practices that department is requiring as far as if you do X on a scene, you need to report X in a field. So if you take vitals on a medical, you need to report the vitals in the module. Even though they aren't a required field, you're still required by the department to document that. Reason being is if you get called into court someday, you're not going to probably not remember all the details of the call. If you didn't write it down in your report, it's not going to look good when you're sitting there with an empty report saying, "Oh, you didn't take vitals." Yeah, we did. No, you didn't. It's not on your report. So we'll go through a bunch of that. So you have tabs on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll have sections on the top. Blocks will be hidden once a primary incident is selected. So as you're selecting fields, toggling toggles, things are going to move around a little bit. You're going to suddenly get more fields if you hit a certain toggle. You're going to have more required items depending on what your incident type is. Then we also now have the ability to not only have primary incidences, but we also have secondary and tertiary incidences. We'll go through that a little bit too. And then a lot of the fields you can select multiple actions or items in that field. Who needs a break? Okay. We'll get to the report practice at the end. A couple of the best practices to remember. We're going to have an assist ambulance toggle that we can use. Now, that is for if you show up on a call and MCA made contact with the patient before you did. If you made contact with the patient before they did, so they show up before you, but you walk in first and say hi to the patient, that is your patient until you transfer it over. So when we get to the assistant ambulance toggle, you can only click that if they show up before you and you didn't give them the courtesy of getting to the patient first. I know they make it hard sometimes.
Based on that statement there, a lot of the things we do that have been done in Aegis over the years was to get around the 75 blocks that you have to maneuver through. There are no more 75 boxes you have to maneuver through, so there's no reason to try to shortcut the report. If you showed up at a patient and literally all you did was say, "Hello, what's your name?" and then Milo shows up and you didn't do any treatment, any whatever else, there's like 5 boxes you have to click.
Yep.
And that's it. So there's no reason to try to shortcut the cancel and route. Well, we were still kind of working our way towards the patient. There's no reason to really shortcut because the report doesn't really get any longer if you do it the right way.
So best practice, do it the right way. We don't need to make long shortcuts like we used to. Rescues with no address, there is the option use coordinates instead of an address for a call. We're recommending that you sign into the iPad at the beginning of your shift. The reason being is we now get to carry the iPads into calls with us. If you don't sign in prior to leaving the station, that device goes from being on the station's network going on a cellular network. Once you do that, you have to second factor authenticate to get into the first due. We all know how much of a pain in the butt it is. When you show up on the call, you try logging in, realize your cell phone's back at the station, you won't be able to log into it. So if you start your shift by logging in on the station's network, you skip that whole second factor authentication and life gets easier.
And it'll keep you logged in.
Yep.
You will stay logged in until you click the log out button.
Yep. Now with that said, you log in at the start of your shift, then your driver decides he needs to do his daily inspection of the rig. He grabs it, he signs in, does his 360. He's signed in now, so you're gonna have to re-sign in unless.
Guess who's doing the reports until.
Well, that's a thing too. So just keep that in mind. Once someone changes the sign in on it, it stays signed in for you, which is convenient. But at the same time, if multiple people are using that device, it can make it hard. You can also.
Didn't mean to interrupt. We were talking the other day, right now our iPad doesn't charge unless the rig is actually running. Can we get to where we can, because if we're using it on every call. We're using it in the station, we're using it here. We need to make sure we can charge it whenever we want.
We're gonna need to get a plug put in that's a battery, powered instead of a battery switch.
I'm just saying that's probably gonna be a common thing throughout.
Yep. Most rigs, I think, have at least one that is on the right side of the battery switch. So most rigs have at least one of their 12-volt sockets that has power, even with the battery switch off. So we just have to figure out which ones don't, and we can get one switched over to a positive side. Just a couple other quick notes, because we've been having questions about this. You are not going to be required to bring the iPad in to you with the medical. If you don't want to, you don't feel comfortable with that, you don't have to. You can do your reports after the fact. It's also not the end of the world if somebody else is signed into the iPad and you do the report. You just have to change who did the report. That's the only line that's going to be auto-filled in by the person that's logged in is who's doing the report. So you can always change that. So.
Yeah, and a little bit more on taking the iPads in. So we can take them in with you. You can be clicking boxes, typing in information. We're working on getting hand straps for the back sides that fit into our docks. We are not required to give a piece of paper to mail. So expect a little bit of grumbling on their side with that. But there's no agreement between us that our patient handoff includes handing them a piece of paper. If they want to screenshot our iPad to get some details, they're more than welcome. But
And maybe give them a heads up over the next couple of weeks that this is coming.
We'll push that message to Craig too, so you can push it out through this.
now, if you walk in and you got a full-blown code, probably set that iPad down, remember, pick it up later and get in working. You'll get the details later, just like what we do with our clipboards.
We do have a person working on trying to figure out a neck strap that will work with our docks as well. So then that way you can, sling it and get it behind you. We're also looking at that as a safety factor because we don't want to have to be replacing a whole bunch of screens because we keep dropping the iPads.
And then if you want to go old school and just carry around the carbon piece of paper, you're welcome to do that too. No, like Chief said, no one's forcing you to carry an iPad in with you. So just some of us think it might be a little more convenient. We might be wrong. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember, what did he have to say about cancellation? Okay.
I believe that's just that toggle where you toggle that we had no department actions on C.
Okay.
And then that's it brings up the cancellation.
Yep. So we'll show you that toggle. And then EMS narratives versus the wrap-up narrative. All right, so we'll get to it, but every call needs to have a wrap-up narrative. That's the end first or nearest narrative that gets attached to the report. It is required in the program. Now, that report is not compliant with HIPAA. It's shown on the public-facing side of the report. We don't want to put EMS details in that report. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to similar to what we do with Aegis, where we have an EMS narrative. That's going to be in the EMS portion, and that's hidden from the public report. We have it set up so that when you type a narrative into that box, it automatically puts a line into the wrap-up narrative stating that you should please see EMS report for the narrative, and that's all you need. So someone going over that report is not going to say, oh, they skipped it. Nope, it says that you have to now go see the EMS narrative to get the details.
That pops up automatically as soon as you put something in the EMS narrative. That message auto-populates.
All right, so there's some ongoing efforts behind the scene right now. There's,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Sorry to keep interrupting, but just a reminder on that. If we go to a more complicated call, like we go to a search out in the woods and we end up with a patient, the patient narrative will be under the EMS, but the call narrative will actually be out on that forward-facing part. So you may do two different narratives, similar to if we had a fire that we had a patient. I'm going to do the fire narrative on the main portion of the report, and then we would do the patient narrative in the medical part.
Yep. And in that case, each rig would do their own narrative.
Potentially.
And it's,
Yeah. We'll talk about
We'll
that.
get that. Yep, we'll get to that fun part. All right, some ongoing efforts that are happening behind the scenes. They're quickly working to get more workflows and more efficient workflows and hiding the fields so that there's less fat on the screen for you to have to sift through. More fields to be auto-populated so that you're not just populating stuff left and right when it can automatically be done. There will be more features that are going to get added to First Student as a whole. So we have multiple modules that we're buying into. The ACs are running a scheduling module they're testing right now. At some point when they're comfortable with the fact that scheduling module is working correctly and we don't need to have VCS as backup anymore, they'll be making a full switch to that and we'll roll out training as far as how you access your scheduling through First Student. We'll also have an asset management module that we'll have access to, so we'll be able to do work orders for the stations and for our rigs. We'll be able to do inventory tracking. We'll be able to do our inspections all in this asset module. They're working on an investigation module and that all
Right now,
right now.
we hope to add more modules down the road, but they all are really expensive.
There is also an AI feature that we are in the process of purchasing. We're hoping that will be available when we roll this out or within the next first month or so. But with the AI, it will help us with our quality and report writing and our narratives. Hopefully populate fields and stuff based on our narratives. We're kind of waiting to see what all features on it will be, but it's currently in process of being implemented. So if you have any bright ideas, you're saying, I really wish this would function this way, or we had this feature, or we could track this piece of information, email Tessier. He's kind of the top of the funnel. He's taking everything in, sifting through things, trying to figure out how to make things work. He is open to anyone's great ideas. He will do his best to see how functional that idea might be. Like I said, First Due is live on January 1st, 2026. So stroke of midnight and 2026 starts, first second of 2026, and ICR drops, that will go into First Due. And the AI stuff. All right, that's all I got on that front.
Put another pitch out there because of that time change. Make sure everybody's keeping up on the reports from now till we're pretty much got everything dialed in until December. So that's a good start, but let's just make sure we're keeping track of everything and trying to keep everything tied up. We have a little cushion after January 1 ages,
It's very tiny.
but very tiny.
IT is fighting like once they got me.
Yeah, so yeah, if you get a call at 11:59 on the 31st, when you come back from that call, do that report the next morning before you leave, because yeah, it's going to be a very, very narrow window. And if you're working trades or overtimes, make sure you're getting your reports done for those as well. That's the thing we miss a lot.
Now my password's not working. Karma. Absolute karma.
Making fun of people. Oh, you could be the person running a piece of it. That's
Not here.
Alright, I will warn you, there's a little bit of a lag. They're gonna try and navigate the screens for me as I'm walking through. There's a little bit of a lag on it actually working as they try and click on things, so patience on that front. Alright, so. Try and get rid of that over there. First thing I want to show you guys, this is gonna be your main landing page. It's gonna be a map. They're slightly different.
Yes, sir.
It is actually part of a response module that we haven't purchased yet, but if we get to the point where we can purchase it, you'll get basic CAD information showing up on that. We can get our pre-plans, our hydrants, all that stuff plugged into it. So instead of navigating between multiple apps on your iPad, we potentially, at some point, if they get this module, we can do everything straight out of this. It would be really nice to have everything in one platform for a change. basic navigation on the iPad, we got the right, web app on the left. We got a menu down here. We can get into our user settings, and we're going to start off with that.
If you didn't see what I did on the web app, it's here, up in the left corner.
Now, we're going to show you user settings because there is one change that gets some grumblings, but there's an easy way to make life easier for yourself down the road. We are going to be required to have signatures at the bottom of every report. So instead of scribbling on an iPad or trying to use your mouse to make a fun signature, you can't type it in. What you can do is we can bring up our user settings. We can click on the signature edit. We can say image signature, choose file, and then we can, before we do this, take a picture of our signature on a white piece of paper with the iPad. We can crop it out, and we can grab it from our photo finder. If you forgot to do that, you can simply take a photo with your iPad of your signature, and it will import it right into First Due for you. And then once you've done that, we'll cancel for now. It gets stored here, and then I'll show you later, but at the bottom of your report, you can say fill signature, and it will grab that image and drop it on the report for you.
You can also just create it in there if you want to sign on the iPad with your finger. And
Yeah,
you
it looks
hit
like
fill. Yeah, you can hit fill.
So that's an easy way to get your signature in there. A couple different versions of doing it, but then you don't have to worry about importing it every time. You can also change your landing page. So if you don't want it to show up on the response tab every time, you could actually set it up so that your incident documentation becomes your landing page. I'm not sure which list it would be, but so you can play around with that. So just a couple of the simple user settings. You can get into your notifications, personal record, all that stuff too. All right, we'll back out of here and let's go to the menus. We can get into our scheduling module. We can get into assets, fire investigation, incident documentation, training. Those are all things that are listed. That list might be different based on your permissions.
That's
We
I
have
want to
only-
do that one. I got one.
So you're not gonna have all those options.
You'll have what's here on the left.
These will be your,
Response.
You'll have a list more like my list.
right, as we add things, that's where they're gonna populate. But right now, those aren't all your options. Our options are basically incident documentation.
And if for some reason you have a longer list than you feel you should, let Allie know, because there might be some permissions that are.
Oh yeah, they're gonna let you.
Yeah, I think it's permissions. I mean,
My permissions were a little bit more than I should have had to begin with too, and I'll let Tessa know, so.
In the response module that you see there, we didn't actually purchase the response module yet, so it is literally just,
Right,
it's not,
it doesn't even, it has a hydrant toggle
yeah.
that doesn't bring up. hydrants.
Nothing works yet because we don't have that one. We'd love to have that one. It's really, really expensive. So
Does that come with the,
it's a little bit of a pyramid scheme in order to get the, if you want to do the command module, you have to have the pre-plan module and the response module. Yeah, it's a little bit of a pyramid scheme. So they're all wonderful. We'd love to get them. We just don't have the money right now. So
All right, we're gonna go into incident documentation ones.
and under that fire incident list?
on the desktop, it probably will.
All right, currently this list is being populated with our current calls. Starting for 2026, they're gonna wipe out anything with the 2025 date. So we can play, this is a sandbox, we can play with any of the calls in here. We can create new calls. We can, as we go on runs, we can come back, we can document it in Aegis, and then we can flip over to First Due and document it in First Due right now if we want. Then that'll give you some practice on using real world calls so that come 2026, you know what, you have a better feeling of what you're doing. Like I said, everything from 2025 is going to get wiped out, so you can leave this as messed up, incomplete, false as you want, and it's not going to hurt anything moving down the road. Now, 2026, calls are live. If you make a change, you hit complete, it gets sent off to the feds. So when you complete a report, make sure everything's accurate in that report. With this fire incident list, we can edit our search functions. We can hit the drop down. And for most people, we're used to just clicking our shift or our rig, and then it populates a list for us of our current calls. So what we can do is we can hit our shifts. We can select C shift, not C. It's C shift. We can pick a station or an apparatus.
We do get a lot of missed reports on that when you pick a station, because what ends up happening is if you went out of your district for a call in your rig, that one won't populate. So when you're looking for unverified reports or incomplete reports, pick your rig rather than your station. That'll get you a cleaner list.
And that's one of the things I've been doing in here is when I do my rig, I pick 7 engine, then I scroll down and I pick 47. And then if I get rid of this,
Like the check mark.
the check mark.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. All right. So if I get rid of that, it'll bring up all 7 engine calls on basically 47 and 7 engine in 7's district or whatever.
Doesn't matter what district you go to.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is C shift specifically.
Yeah.
Now, if I chose to save this, then I can and I name it, I can come back and grab that from this list. And you don't have to set those settings every time.
Yep. So you can set up your primary rig the way you want your calls to display, and you can have that as your go-to saved view. We're working on getting it so that it automatically populates the most recent calls at the top of the list. Right now, the default view on it's kind of funky.
We don't know why it's this random as December 5th.
So if you double click on the incident date time a couple of times, you'll eventually get the most recent call to populate up at the top.
Looks like the saved views aren't user specific.
No,
Oh,
it is. So if you save a view, someone else can use it.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
we learned that yesterday.
So yeah. So if you label them accurately or name them accurately, they're useful for other people. But if you use one, check what you've chosen to. Because let's say, for example, I use this one, but I didn't want C shift in there. I could get rid of C shift. Now it takes me to everything. So even though I grabbed a save view, I can eliminate any one of those things in that filter just by going up top and getting rid of it, and it adjusts what I see.
All right, so you got your basic information about the calls will be displayed. Obviously, the iPad's display isn't as wide as the web app. You're getting a little more information over there. And then you have a bunch of icons in the action field. Any call that any report that has not been started yet, so you can see a not started on that row, you're going to get a start symbol, a play symbol. Any call that has been started but is incomplete will give you a pencil for edit. And then we also have a document feature. It's going to show you the record, the row's record. So if he clicks on that, it's probably not going to have much other than it was started up.
Optional to use it, created, reported to Kari. So this is the one that it was incomplete. Now.
Okay. So anytime you touch a record, it's going to log that you went into it. So if you're poking around on other people's records, there's a record showing that you were poking around. Now, someone asked the other day if, because of HIPAA and if there's going to be any issues with us going around and poking around each other's calls. We do not currently have any policies against that. So yes, you can. Just keep in mind that there will be a record of you poking around. This truck symbol here, that's an apparatus narrative. We'll talk a little bit more about those. But when someone is in a record and they're editing that report, you cannot edit it as well. It only wants one person editing something at a time. Now, if 251's busy working on a fire report and you want to go complete your apparatus narrative because that's the way you've been instructed, you can click on the apparatus and that will give you an ability to change that portion of the report.
You looking for an eyeball, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do you want me to hop in one?
Go ahead and do it near the top of the page so I don't have to search.
1931. December 16th.
Are you not looking?
I'm in 12:18 at 9:24 a.m.
It was walking. 18 at 9, what?
That one right there, just as a
If I have to refresh, hang on. If I refresh. And I redo this.
There it is.
There it is. So the other icon that you'll see, Allie's in there. So if I click on this, I can go in and do the report, but I can't make any changes. It's a view only report because she's already in it.
That'll also happen when somebody actually completes a report. They've actually sent it in. It turns into an eyeball as well.
Sure. But basically what that means, if you see an eyeball there, you're not gonna be able to edit the report other than your own apparatus. And we'll show you how to do that.
All right, let's see. We have the ability to print a report. We have the ability to delete incident history, which you won't have the ability to do. And then we have the ability to do attachments on certain reports. So, all right, if we go into a report, this is going to be your main report screen. You guys want to see if you can get, they're going to pick
Actually,
two
hang on.
different
I can go
reports.
to something that
That
has
one's-
more
I would
information.
say that one's super new.
Right? And grab one that has more information in.
And then I ask for the sake of not slowing down the system in this room that you guys don't play with the reports at this time so that these two actually function. Otherwise this gets blocked down real bad. So, all right, this can be your main fire incident screen for a call. You're gonna have your fire incident number up top, incident location based on the dispatch, date and time that it was dispatched, and dispatch location. And then you also, if you click on the eye, you will get the CAD notes. So no more having to dig down through the records list to get your call information. So what this is doing is at the time that you open up the report, it's populating the CAD notes. If you're on the call and you haven't refreshed the screen, this might be old information. So if you want to look up, say, an apartment number or something based on the CAD notes, you might have to hit refresh CAD in order to get the most accurate information.
Yeah, just because I'm just trying to keep up here. Is this grayed out because you're accessing it right now? Yeah, I think that's probably. Okay.
But you'll get all your basic CAD information that we currently have on the list. Hopefully, and it'll be the most recent, so you're going to have a long list of CAD entries for the incident. So if we click out of here, we get a save button. It auto saves as you're doing things. So if you switch from tab to tab, it's supposed to save. If you hit the save button, it's supposed to save. Some of the fields have it down below. Doesn't hurt to hit it from time to time, just to make sure things are being populated. Today, as you're playing with it, it may or may not work correctly. You have a complete. So once all your red bubbles are done, you're happy with this report. You never want to touch it again. You don't see a reason to ever touch it again. You hit complete. It will now automatically get submitted to NERS reporting. Allie will not have to wait and do this, every 6 months, every quarter. She will not be sitting on a whole stack of reports anymore and then going through and submitting each one. When you hit complete, it gets sent. You can go back and change something and resend it, but try and make sure that when you're sending something, it's accurate to the best of your knowledge. Yeah.
Excellent, press complete.
Right now?
First of the year, I guess.
It goes nowhere. Good question.
Jim,
We
as long as we're on that question, I hit complete. You notice it basically says, please fix, well, it disappeared now. Please fix errors on report. So it'll go through and kind of check and,
Only the red bubbles.
yeah.
Only the.
So basically, you got to go back and fix all the things that need to happen before you can take it.
The same address, but it's two separate calls, and you do it. You can say, I think, oh, fuck this.
Can we retract to complete report?
Not sure. We can edit a completed report. I don't know if we can retract it.
I was just saying, like, cause nobody times we go to the same address, you know, let's say you go to Lennox, two different apartments,
So be just wrong.
do my report in the wrong apartment, and then hit submit, open up the next one and be like, oh shit, I did the wrong one.
Now, the nice thing is you should be able to clean out data that you put into reports. If you start doing someone's report and you catch yourself like that, you should be able to go back, clean out whatever you typed, whatever boxes you clicked on, save it, and they should be able to bring up a started report.
Even after it's been hit complete.
Well,
Or not done.
you wouldn't have completed it at that point. Say you caught yourself halfway through, you're like, oh, I gotta backtrack. You can backtrack, save it, close it. They can go in and recomplete it. Where with Aegis, it doesn't always let you clean out the bad stuff. So
When we complete a report on here, does it disappear off of our viewer?
No.
Or does it just have a different symbol?
it'll have a different symbol.
The status will change to incomplete. So you could also set your filter to show your incompletes if you want.
Yep. So when Allie's, emailing us in a week saying, hey, you have all these incomplete reports, that's the equivalent of that. Except for it's gonna be real time. She's not gonna be keeping track of things on the road.
It might be for a little
Yeah,
while.
but it normally.
We'll probably have a report of something we can bring up.
Yeah.
That can show us that stuff. So,
Do we know why the incident end time is not populating?
This is new enough, it might be
No,
not,
because he's looking at something 12/17 and it's not populated either.
that I couldn't tell you then.
So,
Maybe they're looking at clear time versus end time and not.
Yeah.
communicating.
Allie will
Make the notes.
make a note.
so, no.
Allie's been real helpful about making notes as things like that pop up for us. So,
I told you guys when we first started talking about this, we're gonna hit about 80 to 85% of this release, and then we're gonna keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. So,
yeah. All right. Before I go down this list, we talked about the refresh CAD. We also have resources. These are basically hyperlinks that we can put in for our reference. So if you're on a call and you want to get to the electronic version of the ERG real fast, you can hit resources, hit the ERG. Same with the NIOSH guide to hazards. Another really helpful one for doing reports is clicking on the County Land Explorer.
I'm not gonna do it on the iPad. It doesn't
Okay.
work.
With this, you can zoom in on the city of Duluth. Works really good on the desktop, but not so good on the iPad. And you can click on an individual property and get the parcel tax information on it, including property values, owners, when they paid, exact address information. So if you look up an address for a building, you know you were next to the red building downtown, but you don't know what the address was, you can look it up that way and update the incident. If you're doing value for a fire incident on a property and you need to know the property loss value, you can pull it from here.
You just need to know how to spell a person's name. Sometimes it helps.
Yep.
You got the basic name, but you come back and you look at the address and go, oh, that's how it's spelled.
Yep.
Because would I know how to spell nits? Maybe, maybe not.
So just a nice little thing that we can use, easy access to it, especially in the web app. All right, and we do have the ability to put more buttons up top. So if you have more resources in, so if you have ideas, let us know.
It's also variance. Sorry.
I missed it.
Yeah. So we have these are our tabs on the left. Each tab changes the middle screen, and then there's different portions of this, different sections of this section of the report. and we can fast track to the different sections based on what's on the heading bar here. So our response tab consists of dispatch information and location information. If you're dispatched to a location and addresses all stay the same, you don't have to change too much down here. If all the call information populated correctly, you don't have to change any of that, just like when we're in Aegis. The one required field that isn't automatically populated that we need to do to make NERS happy is the primary incident type found. And we're using medicals as an example right now, so they can just type in med or medical or breathing or cardiac arrest, and it will, or heart, it will give you a smart list here, so it'll kind of filter itself out. With that said, if you type in like med and then you hit a space, it's looking for med with a space, not medical. So it will kind of mess up your list that way. So just keep that in mind.
The other thing that you want to pay attention to is we've got illnesses, then you got injuries, you got whatever. If you pay attention to what category you're in, you can narrow it down to that section pretty quickly this way. If I just go ILL, it brings me right to the illnesses, right? If I know I'm dealing with an illness. Same thing with an injury. I go IN, oops, wrong letters. Move my fingers. INJ. So now I go straight to the injuries. So if I know I've got an injury, I put INJ in there. Now I can look through my list of injuries. If I want to be more specific, I know, for example, eye trauma is in there. I could put I. And anyway, you get the idea.
So we have primary incident type found. We have a secondary incident type found. So say you have a car accident. That's going to be your primary. That car accident then caused a fire. That becomes your secondary. And then when you click on that one, it gives you a tertiary, your third incident type. Fire caused a medical. Then you put a medical in. So it gives you the ability to step it down a little bit instead of just having car accident. You can get different medical or different incident types out of there. But you always, at a minimum, need to have that primary one.
Oh, don't cancel.
All right. As you click the we'll give her a chance to catch up. As you click on this primary incident type found, if you go from illness and you watch your red bubbles over there to a structure fire, click on it.
So now I went to 25 in my information. I got 5 in my size up.
It'll change almost instantly the number of things that you're required to fill in based on the primary incident type. So when we go back to our medical, it's gonna sift out a lot of those required fields, and the fields might still be there in the information tab, but they're not required anymore. Just kind of like in Aegis, if you click the wrong incident type, you go down a really nasty rabbit hole for a campfire. So as we're paging down this, we get into our shift should be automatically populated by the date, and then we have alarms. I want to point out that alarms, that's going to be more of the only time you'll have to change this is if we have a structure fire. More importantly, we have a working fire protocol alarm category now on the report. So they can track how many single alarms we have versus how many actually got upgraded to a working fire protocol versus how many actually went to 2, 3, or 4 alarms. And then we get down into our location. So if we want to fast forward, we could have just hit location. If our address, if the warming center in Lincoln Park is in fact where we found our patient, we can leave this alone. We don't have to change anything. Now, if it came in as the warming center, but we found them a block down the road and we want to update our incident location, we can unclick that and now we can edit that field. Not sure if it's still true, but their city, based on the address, might populate Lincoln Park, Duluth, Woodland, Duluth. for some reason was adding the neighborhood as part of the city in this address. So, not sure if they got that changed or not, or if we care.
It's more accurate.
Yeah, depends on if you wanted a report for just Duluth though, like, it might look a little weird.
You can change it to just Duluth then.
You can, but at this point, we're not required.
You can,
And if it's automatically populated based on the incident location, it doesn't do that. It doesn't do it until you change that address in zip code. You also get your lap bond. So if you got a rescue, it's in the middle of Hartley Park. You don't have an address for the park, but you do still have your lap bond on its location. We can go down a little bit more. Oh, those are new. So we have a people present field now. We can, if this is mainly for if there's a fire incident and they want to track the number of people that were in the house at the time of the fire, or how many people got displaced as a result of that fire, they can track all that information. If we're just going to a medical, we don't need to really worry about that information. Unless it was an abandoned house for some reason. We want to change that the location was not being used appropriately. So you have a residence that's being used as a commercial facility or a commercial facility that people are sleeping in for some reason. Then we have to actually go ahead and unclick that and we can write our reasoning that we feel that wasn't used appropriately.
Again, this would only be if it's pertinent to the call. So we went to a fire in an abandoned house and there's squatters that were in there that were at a campfire or cooking fire or something like that. That'd be pertinent to the call. That's when we would change this kind of stuff. 99.9% of the time.
Yeah. As far as, your run of the mill medical, you won't even get that on this far on the call. Response zone, we don't have anything populated. And population density, don't need to. All right, we're gonna go into apparatus. If you have multiple rigs responding to things, you'll have, based on the CAD information, you'll have them populated in here. Where are we at with the 242, 247?
So we're switching the one you don't respond to a code 2, then we're going to times. Here, why don't you walk through it on yours?
so this one's not going.
Correct, so you're gonna go in and edit, you're gonna put it as code 2. You're gonna go to times at the top. You're gonna say unit canceled, and you're gonna do prior to en route. So we're working with dispatch to see if we can get times fixed. So if they dispatch 8 quit and then we're responding in 248, technically the times are not correct. So we would pull a report to say how long from when we were dispatched to when we left, those times aren't gonna be accurate.
Okay.
So we need to leave both of those there so we have the actual dispatch time. Because you can see that dispatch versus that dispatch is very different. So we need to have that actual difference.
Mhm.
So we're leaving them both. So we're code 2 cancel prior to en route.
So this is the one that.
Does that make sense for you guys having the smaller rigs at the same time?
This would be. Yeah, so I went in here, first of all, to edit is this little pencil and page. And then when I initially brought it up, this was red, like, we need to fill this out. So then I click over here, because this is the one we didn't take, we're putting it as code 2. And then, because we can't get rid of it.
We can't create another code that just says not responding or something like call.
There are some fields we cannot change.
Right, we only have.
There, this requires us, you're either going code 2 or you're going code 3.
So, and then you switched your times up here, I put prior to en route.
And you get that after you click unit cancel
Right,
toggle at
sorry about that. So your unit canceled, then go to prior to en route, and then when I was said and done, I hit save.
and it turns.
That makes this nice and white, so you're good there. Now we're gonna go to the rig we did take and edit that. And then in there, we're gonna say we went code 3, most likely. And then your times should auto-populate from your call on this one. Your personnel should also auto-populate. Why they're not here on this one, I don't know.
Mine didn't auto-populate either. They just called me.
Ours doesn't include this because we.
Yeah, one engine, one tower are the only ones that are not gonna get to have that feature. Everybody else, 48, 42, 44, 41, everybody else is associated with their primary rig. But if you guys split 43, you guys will still have to manually enter your person.
Can we have it auto-populate both rigs personnel on there and then just hit the delete button for the 4 people that didn't go?
Maybe,
Instead of looking up the
Maybe.
Yeah.
maybe.
So you're saying, relate all 8?
They're gonna associate.
Cause then the person who's doing the
Yeah,
report.
all you do is delete fast with that type in 4 names. Yeah. We can play with that, cause I know how to do that part, where I can associate the rig, so.
Alright, that makes sense, don't forget.
And then if you did have a narrative for your rig, like you went to a fire and he's gonna do the overall fire report, but you were first on scene, we did a 360, we did whatever, we forced entry, we, did initial suppression, whatever, that would go in your report as your rig. And actually, I'm gonna type something in this, cause
At this time, that will only be if 251 asks you to do that.
Right.
Okay, we may change that down the road, but right now, if it's a basic little, cigarette butt on the front porch fire, I know what who did, I'm gonna write the reports, you guys don't have to worry about it. If we go to medical oxygen supply fire on 4th Street, yeah, I'm gonna call the cap and say, hey, give me a lowdown on each of your rigs and do a narrative for me. We may change it in the future, but right now, only if 251 calls you and says, do a narrative.
just to show you where that lands in the wrap up, this is the overall one that's required. But if I came down here, you notice 248's narrative just auto populates below that.
Like a 1052 or.
Yeah.
Main rigs doing the report.
If the person that's doing the report wants you to do their part, they'll call you and say, hey, give me a little intel.
What you guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so,
But it is
As long as
possible.
the main person can do it.
yes, correct.
Okay.
You don't, if the main person's going to write the narrative in the main narrative, you don't have to write a rig narrative unless you're requested to write a rig narrative.
Yeah. So you have 3 narrative types in first due. You have the MS narrative, which we're gonna cover here shortly. You have the apparatus narrative, and then you have the wrap up narrative at the bottom that we'll get to. Only time you need to worry about the apparatus is if you've been requested by the report maker to write something.
So that could come into play where, we went from a 1052 and holy crap, somebody's gonna get their ass sued on this deal. If we may end up getting called in courts, we want everybody, or was it, 4 people got killed in a car accident. We wanna dial in everybody's first-hand details on this, because we know that this is before kind of stuff.
Yep. The nice thing about that is then you'll know who's writing that narrative in each one. It's logged under the apparatus. It's a little more clear to the final report who did what. A couple other, let's go back and just in case we missed anything, that was personal narratives. All right. So at the bottom, it's automatically going to assume that we're assigned at the assigned station when it was dispatched. Now, say 7 engines downtown right now, they get a call in their district, they're responding, but obviously there's a distance. They're going to be a little bit delayed. We're not currently requiring it, but if they want to document that they were coming from headquarters, what they could do is unclick that. They could type in the location that they were at, and that helps explain on the report why there was an extra delay in their call. And then at the very bottom, actions taken. If you're breaking down what each rig did on a call, you can go through this action taken for the apparatus, and you can select as many things as you want that you feel are applicable to the call. If it's a single company going to this call, you don't need to document it here. You actually have to document it in the wrap-up section. So we're gonna hit save. We're not gonna touch size up too much, but we'll go into it and take a look. Actually, go back to apparatus one second. All right, so we have a resources section in the apparatus section. Say 11 engine goes to Rice Lake 7 engine goes to Hermantown for a mutual aid. We want to document on our side of the report that they gave, there was aid given or received. We gave it in support of that department, and it was for Hermantown Fire. It just is going to help us keep track of how often we are going to another department, or say we get a call, we need a tender to come. 251 can say aid was received in support of us by Proctor.
That is the data piece that I get asked for semi-regularly, just in case you guys are wondering.
So that is what we want you to do.
Yep.
If you're going out of the city, or most likely if we're calling somebody into the city, it's gonna be us doing the report anyway, but yeah, if you mutual aid out of the city, we want you to do those blocks, so we can track that stuff.
All right, and the last one is on the bottom here. Station response. You are, say you roll up on a 1052 and it's Pete's day off. He got on scene first. He was driving by, saw a bunch of cars wrecked. There's no cops. There's no fire on scene. He gets out of his truck, goes and starts tending to the patients. 7 engine rolls up. We want to document anytime one of our off-duty staff are on scene of an incident that we come up on. So all we gotta do is add the individual. We'll go in, we'll select their name, and we'll just document that they were there. It's our way of showing which one of our off-duty additional staff were actually on scene and reporting in the report that they were there, short of just mentioning their name in the narrative. Doesn't happen often, but every once in a while it happens. All right, now we go to size up. We're not really gonna have to touch this too much. Other than fire incidences, you'll probably go into this one. There's a little bit of scene information, then it automatically populates the weather conditions based on the time and location of the call. So it just goes to a weather database, grabs a couple of the key points and populates it. All right, people involved. We're not worried about the animal portion at all. It's just one of those things we can't get rid of. We're concerned about the people that were involved in the call. So when you go to add,
People are more good.
you got 3 types of individuals that can be involved in a call. You have the civilian, the property owner, the owner of the vehicle, the uninjured individual that's involved in the call that you want to tag as being part of the incident. You have your civilian EMS patient. So that's anytime you do patient care on an individual, that's where you're going to put that information. And that includes, hey, my name is Nick. You get their name, you get their birthday, you just started an assessment, they became your patient. So you're gonna put that information in there. Injured firefighter, that's gonna be a 251 thing. If someone gets hurt on the call and they wanna log in the details of that injured person, injured staff, they're gonna put it in there. So with the civilian, for most of our standard calls, say you go to automatic fire alarm, there's a maintenance person there that you're talking to, you want to document that you made contact with that person, you dump their information in here. There aren't required fields, but once again, you fill in as much as you can. First name, last name. You're not going to ask the maintenance guy when his birthday was. You're not going to do his driver's license, but you might make some notes about it. Get that in there too.
That was yesterday, feature.
All right, so we're gonna scroll back up. We're gonna pretend we have an EMS patient. All right, go to civilian real quick. Sorry. It says involved person. When they become your civilian EMS patient, it considers them casualty. For us, casualty is someone that died, right? As far as the report's concerned, casualty is someone that got hurt, injured, inflicted in some kind of form or fashion. So it's not necessarily someone that died. So when you click that, don't let that throw you off.
Hey Nick, before we get going on the civilian side, like if we do an auto alarm, is that gonna require us to fill out a name?
It's not required.
Okay, so we don't need it, like if we just, we never got the name.
It's a common practice, but it's not required.
Gotcha.
That'd be where, I mean, like, we went on a fire call and we had somebody that got hurt, they're into the civilian EMS. The people that were in the neighboring apartment that just had to evacuate, they'd be into the civilians. But except the property manager that showed up, I want to document his name, I'm gonna put on the civilian side. Anybody that's involved in the incident but wasn't.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if like we go to Essentia, get on scene, maintenance, like, you're good, you can.
Yeah.
False alarm, we turn around,
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
We get in.
Yeah.
Now, if it's the third time you've been to that apartment building that day because they have a faulty alarm system, you talk to the maintenance guy, and then you want Lisa or one of her staff to follow up on it, put his name in there and then email her that ICR. All that information's right there. All right, so we're gonna start our EMS report. We don't do jackets anymore. If we did the EPCR module in this, and similar to our old PCRs, then we would have jackets on everyone. Every time you click civilian EMS patient, that's the first time that record has seen that person's birthday, name, information. So there's no way to look up one individual and see their history without running a report and seeing them in there a bunch of times.
Is there a way to grab that information from an old report to make it auto-populate?
I don't know. That'd be a
And if I could get past and just go auto-populate.
think about most of the jackets. I never really liked the jackets anyway because how many Bob Smiths are there?
Yeah.
A whole bunch of them.
We have the same person in there 5 times, which is
Just
different.
different
birthday.
Just different spellings. It just they just end up turning into a hot mess anyway.
So this makes it a little bit simpler, it takes out one extra step.
But
And
there,
at the time they had the wrong address because the person moved.
Yeah.
And just it was.
but there still is a way that admin can see how many times we've been to,
We'll touch on it.
We've got a button.
We got a button for that. Yeah.
Alright, so we're gonna scroll down.
It's gonna be ass button.
Gonna do name, date of birth, it should populate the age, and then say you got an infant that's 10 months old, you can switch your unit to 10 months. I need to automatically do that for you. Not concerned about gender, not concerned about driver's license. At some point, supposedly we'll get a driver's license function where you can take a picture of their driver's license. It will capture all their information. So it might be. You can write any notes you want about the person, and then we can scroll. We have frequent utilized for 911. So for our regulars, we can tag them. Then we can run a report looking for our frequent flyers, and then we'll see Jimmy Stewart on there 20 times. 20. So we'll see their name populating for a given date range, how many times they've used our services. Care resources referral, anything that you want Amy to check out, we can now tag that one. We can put notes on it. So there's no more need to then go into SharePoint, write a whole different thing, reference the ICR that we just did.
Based on what that says, it's saying check if we are referring it to Amy, which means to me that we still do the old SharePoint.
No,
No?
so I have to confirm this because this all just happened
Okay,
yesterday afternoon
that's
at
fine.
11 p.m. last night. We got that added. I'm hoping that I will be able, so twice a week I send Amy a report based on what you guys are putting out on the SharePoint.
Good.
In theory, I will be able to pull a report based on this toggle,
Good.
and I will be able to send her that report
So I can-
instead of you logging it on the SharePoint.
I can no longer tell my patient that they're gonna contact them within 24 hours, cause you're gonna do it twice a week.
We already do it twice a week, so if you tell them 24 hours,
That's what they said when they rolled the program up.
well, Mike wanted me to send a report every day. I don't have time for this, so they get it twice a week.
I can say that's something.
If you would like to.
Within the week.
They get contacted within the week.
Right.
So the plan is now you guys won't have to log it on the SharePoint as long as I can pull the data like I think I can out of here.
Sounds good.
It's saving you a step.
Alright, we also have
Confirming and
requests, but no promises that we create, this call should have been code 2 call toggle.
Yes.
So once again, we don't have to go into SharePoint. Hopefully we'll have a toggle here. You'll be able to write your notes here. They'll have the ICR, they'll have the CAD info, they'll have everything in one spot. You just hit one toggle instead of going into a completely different program, rewriting everything and referencing the information you already did. So working on it. Hopefully it happens. All right, contact info, if you want to put their phone number, especially for that care resources stuff, probably be a good idea to put that in there. And last thing I want to touch on is a hidden field and home address. Is this person unhoused? Can't change that language, but I can try and be correct for the recording. You can tag that, so we could potentially, if we're using that field, run a report showing us how often we're interacting with individuals that fall into that category. Or so that they can get further assistance based on how often they're using our system. So if you have them tagged as a frequent utilizer and then also tagged as this, that should be a red flag to get them some further care by some of our other outreach coordinators. So, all right, that should be it for home address. We don't care about insurance information. Once again, it's a field that we can't get rid of.
Where's my
So-
go?
Yeah, we're just talking, if you go to their house, obviously the address in the CAD is the same as their address, but if you go to Holiday Inn for a patient room, their address is in Illinois. Where do you put that?
That's the home
That's
address.
all under home
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to go to that much detail and capture
You
that,
don't have to do that.
You're not doing that?
Required.
If you get it, you wanna write it down, go ahead and write it down, but
Not
you don't
okay.
have to have their own
Yeah.
names.
we're not going after them for any information. We don't need insurance information. There's no billing. No reason for us to go into that much detail.
Yeah.
We're not technical.
If it's somebody's car that just burned up or something like that, we need to be able to contact them, you know, they're worried about but that's typically just all that.
Medical, they don't need their own address.
Nope. Yeah, and we're not passing this information on, so we don't pass that to Mayo. We don't give it to the hospital. We don't need it. So, all right, and our civilian EMS. We click on our EMS tab. So all that general info is under general info. Now we're in EMS. If you have multiple patients and you create multiple rows in this box here, then this will start changing. You'll get number of patients, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, corresponding numbers. Hopefully, this will get auto-populated based on your radio dispatch. Otherwise, if you have the iPad with you, we're working on getting a stop watch button that you can just click, and it will automatically tag the time. So if you're carrying your iPad into medical, arrived at patient. No more need to get on the radio and tell dispatch that you arrived at the patient. Hopefully cut down on their workload a little bit. Same with patient care transfer. You hit the stopwatch button once that is there. Right now you gotta go through their toggle system. You hit that stopwatch, it will automatically tag the date and time. No more getting on the radio saying patient care transfer. We all know that 90% of the time those times are delayed based on when the dispatcher can get to it anyway. And then you can do a provider impression assessment. So based on your initial assessment, what your impression is. And then we do have the required evaluation status. You know, were the patient evaluated and care provided, refused care, no care required? They flat out refused evaluation and care. Patient support services provided, or patient DOA. So a couple different options, but that one is required to satisfy this. This EPCR number, we don't need to worry about touching that. That's just part of the program. We can't get rid of that field. We can't hide that field. Put some tape over it. We don't need to worry about that. And then patient status after intervention. Did they improve? Nothing changed? Or did you make them worse?
They were dead.
Right.
Ellie killed her patient.
It's like that.
And it's unchanged. They can't get worse than that.
For the times,
Yes.
is as far as like, today, we don't have a stopwatch, these
Right.
aren't auto-populating and say it.
Do the best you can, just like with
Well, if we enter the wrong time, like
Yeah.
it does on our current system, will it flag us and not be able to submit it? It's just not chronological.
Like,
If
like,
if it's before your wife,
yeah.
it may flag.
Yeah,
I feel like that will flag.
that does,
Yeah,
that
Okay, yeah.
does. If your times aren't chronological,
Then
they
it
will,
it will.
they will trip.
Okay.
So you might have to go back there and adjust, make some adjustments.
jump.
And we're
Yeah.
working with the development team to get stopwatches added so that you don't have to freaking go through and pick all of them.
Yeah, okay. Their date time picker is horrible. I can't wait until it's stopwatch.
As often as you guys don't hit on scenes and all the reports I do, you guys aren't gonna get.
And honestly, those fields aren't even required. So if you left those two fields blank, shouldn't leave them blank, but if you left them blank, it wouldn't get mad.
My question was there's times in 3 spots on here. There's response times, there's apparatus time, and there's people involved times. Say we get on scene, we just go right to people involved and start doing our medical, and we hit arrived at patient. Does it go back to the apparatus one and fill in for that too?
We're working on trying to get that to auto-populate. Yep.
So it will backtrack.
Well,
Since
nothing currently.
we have it to the development team to see.
Wait, that looks. She heard you what to do on somebody in there.
Again, audio recording.
I was laughing when the door shut, so.
So, going through the EMS portion, we have an injuries section, we have treatments, procedures, medications, and so on. Our first one is our patient injured. We click that tab, it's gonna give us the field for that. We can go then in and click details about the injury. You know, we can say where the injury was, we can say the injury type. You know, I had a guy the other night that had a stick lodged in his face, so the injury was in the head and he had a puncture.
Big thing to remember on this whole EMS tab is, if you did it, document it. If you didn't do it, scroll right on past.
You only have to touch the things that you did on the call. So if there were no injuries, don't worry about it. If there's multiple injuries, you can add multiple rows. So they got a broken leg, they got a broken foot, and they got a broken shoulder. You can make an individual row for each one of those things. Human factors contributing to injury. It's actually a really fun list. The squad will be using these two quite often. Possibly impaired by alcohol, impaired by other drug or chemical. Mentally disabled. There you go.
Everybody works.
Someone gets hurt around here.
That's another one where you can add several.
Yeah, you can add several other factors involved. You know, was it self-inflicted, inflicted but not self-inflicted? So if someone stabbed someone else, inflicted but not self-inflicted. But it's all accidental, right? So cause of injury or illness. Got a nice list of things you can choose from. Once again, you can choose multiple things if multiple things went to the cause of injury or illness. All right, and then you can throw any other information or notes about said injury.
So you notice head is kind of a vague term. You can come down here and specify what you had in the notes. Basically.
Right cheek.
Right.
All right, we can get down into our treatment and procedures. All right, this is where we get to document things like airway devices, head tilt chinless, AEDs, baked masks, and so on. So the things that you do on call, depending on what happens during that call, you can click on each one of those, well, one at a time, because you're creating individual rows for each one of those things. So if you did CPR, you did an airway, you did the AED, did a whole bunch of things, you're gonna have multiple rows in that. I did put a request in that we get rid of the date time stamp for each treatment procedure and medication, because honestly, that gets to be a lot of stamping or making up times. We know that you were on a call from this time to this time. We don't need a second by second, play by play breakdown of all that. So
Being that we can't delete it though, it's not a required field.
it's not a required field.
Didn't make a cheat sheet for all the procedures, so like what they say versus what they mean.
We tried to go in and change all the names on every procedure because we got like a list of like 300 things to do, and then we pared it down to what we just do. So I made a list if you guys want it and highlighted the ones that we were most likely to do. So like every patient's gonna get an assessment if you walk in the door, and then like if you did vital signs, you click vital signs, did a blood sugar, that you moved a patient, those are all in there. So you want them, they're up here.
Do you have a digital copy of that by chance?
I sent it to Ben and he did not send it to everybody, so yes. I did. I sent it to everybody. I can send it to you.
Thanks.
All right, and then we can tag which one of our crew members did each activity. You can't tag multiple people on a procedure. So on CPR, it gets a little bit more complicated because you can't tag all four of them without making 4 separate lines. But if hopefully threw in an airway during CPR, you could tag that if you want. If you took multiple tries, you can tag the number of attempts and then overall successful. All right, and then we hit save. And that creates a row for that treatment procedure. Say you had another treatment procedure, you click add, and you make a new one. Say you don't like the way it showed up, something is wrong, you can go back and edit, you can go back and delete, and so on. All right, medications, very similar. You click add. A little bit different on this. You can grab albuterol. And it automatically populates the dosage based on our albuterol kits. If we click medication again and we say oxygen, it will normally leave us blank because we changed that, it didn't update this. But oxygen, we have different rates we can give. It doesn't know which one we automatically gave, so you now have to go in and change the dosage. But it automatically gives you liters per minute. So if you change your medication, you might have to change the corresponding fields.
Actually, if you just close out of it,
Or you close out,
go
back in.
back in, and then choose your new medication, or whatever.
And
it is.
say you give aspirin. They took one baby aspirin before you showed up. You want to give them a second one. It's going to auto-populate the normal dosage that we give. Then you backtrack that a little bit to compensate, and maybe make some notes that you only gave half of what you normally gave because they already took the other half.
One thing I do want to point out, generally speaking, when you go click on your provider, if you're in your rig should be near the top of this list, the people on your rig. So that does make it a little nicer. So whoever was on that rig that day should be right there, easy to grab.
All right, that's about it for medications. And then vital signs.
Back on the personnel and all the rigs and stuff, realize that you guys are not gonna be doing fake payroll anymore. This is gonna be tied to our actual payroll that we're gonna be doing. The downside of that is, like right now, we have how many people swapped around because we're doing training. That stuff I typically am not gonna be fixing in payroll until the evening hours. So if we have any captains meeting, or we're having a hazmat meeting, or we're swapping people on rigs, you will probably have to go in on those during those couple hours and manually flop some people around.
Yep.
So
But it's way easier to fix those things than it was in Aegis.
right. And for the most part, it should be fairly accurate. It's just gonna be during those odd times that
All right, vital signs. Once again, there's a time date stamp on that, not required, and hopefully we'll be deleting that out. You can write who took it. If multiple people say one person did BP and other vitals, and then another person did blood sugar, just create 2 lines of vitals to signify that. You got your heart rate, blood pressure, respiratory rate. I will warn you that is required in a random report type that we can't find right now. So if it's giving you trouble down the road saying respiratory rates required, let us know what kind of medical you're on so we can track that one down. So it should not be required. Same thing with respiratory effort. SpO2, we get that. Numerical ET, CO2. Do we have a device that tells us that? No. Does Mayo have a device that tells us that? Do we look at that ever? No. But the doc wants that number. So if you happen to look over during your code and you can capture that number and remember it, feel free to put it in there. But we're not required to make note of that. Glucose colorimetric. Do we have a device for that? If we use that device, make note if it's yellow or purple. If we walk into an assisted living facility and the nurses did their job and took vitals and had vitals for us, we can say vitals taken prior to arrival and we can capture all that. Temperature. Who has the ability to take a patient's temperature while on the call? Okay. All right. So, doc wants that number. We don't have ability to give him that number. If you happen to get the temperature of the patient, go ahead and write it down. Once again, it's not a required field. It's required if we capture that information. If you didn't capture it, can't write it down. Pain scale only goes to 10. Sorry. So just max them all out because they're all going to tell us 15 to 20. Glasgow Coma scale. We have the ability to write the total. We are working on the ability to put a little calculator in so that you can write each one of the scores, and then it gives you, so you don't have to do the math. So,
I'll just speak on the end tile and the temperature quick. He kind of wanted those in there because he can then pull, like, if we pulled somebody out of the lake and they check their temperature, like at what temperature, like if they were to successfully be revived, he's going to want to look at it on our side. So that's why he added those. We told him we can't even measure it. He's like, I know, I still want to look at it. So it's kind of, like you said, it's all his thing. But if you're on a code, like he's looking at it for like successful outcomes. So if we do get a successful save, what were the numbers that we can see on our end and other things that change in our side?
All right, that's pretty much it for vitals. We can hit save. Once again, lots of fields that aren't required, but if you capture that information on your call, probably be a good idea to actually write it down. When you write down your vitals, they will show up here. So if you're on a call and male wants to know what someone's vitals were, and you don't hand them the piece of paper, what they can do is take a picture of this screen. It will show them the name. It will show them the vitals, and then it's right there for them. So. Signature. We now have the ability to capture the signature of a patient. The only time we're requiring that you do that is if you flat out, hands down, believe that they need to go get seen, and they are the old lady that has not left her house in 5 years and refuses to go to the hospital. If you have an individual that beyond all the convincing in the world refuses to go in, and you want to cover your butt because you know bad things are going to happen as soon as you leave, it is time to capture your signatures. And all you got to do is click the edit button because it's already assigned to self, the person. We're working on getting the full name automatically populated. You're going to go to reasons. Refusal of care in English is going to be the template that will get loaded. Once the language has been created, they're going to add a bunch of legal information. You'll time date stamp it, and you'll have them draw their signature in the box. You cannot draw their signature in the box. Do not draw their signature in the box. If you cannot get their signature for whatever reason, you hit signature not obtained, hit no signature, and then you're going to say why. This is a cover your own butt situation. You know something's going to happen, or have a bad feeling something's going to happen because they're not getting the care they should get. This is how we cover ourselves. Do everything you can, short of chasing a patient down the road, to get that signature from them. Mayo's been doing it for years. We've been seeing them do it for years. This is how we cover ourselves now. Now, if there's a doctor on scene that is taking patient care from you, and then giving you instructions on how to care for this patient that are beyond our scope of what we've been trying to do, you're going to have them sign as well. They're going to type in their information, and then you're going to, check healthcare provider, and then they're going to sign off on it. So if you're being instructed to do things that you're not supposed to do and you want to cover your butt, that's how you cover your money. So that's it for signature stuff. Same thing goes with, there's another line in there for patient, like the parent of the patient, the guardian of the patient. If a parent said, I'm gonna take my kid in the hospital, I don't want mail, you can go ahead and go that route. Cardiac arrest information, there's a little bit more information they wanna gather. You click that button, you got 2 drop downs, did it happen pre-arrival, post-arrival? And then, since we, don't have the ability to capture this information, you can write, undetermined for the rest of the type.
Track times or anything anymore on how long before mail got there and the AD was attached and all that.
If you do know the rhythm, we'd like you to have the rhythm in there too. Like everybody should know BFib is on there. It's with squiggly lines. If it's something else and you're not sure, put undetermined. If you do know it, please write it.
Yeah, if you know it, document it. If you don't, just write undetermined. All right, we're gonna apply. And then you have EMS disposition. Did MCA take them? Did MCA take one of our people with? Not transported or not transported prior to us clearing. So say we leave mail on scene with a patient, they clear us that we can go home, but we don't know if that patient went or not. We can write not transferred prior to us clearing. Now, non-MCA ambulance, so if OK picks someone up, that's where you document that. If DPD or the patient family, if someone drove them, you can use POV transport. And then if for some reason we transported, we would be documenting it with the last one. And then we get into our narrative. At some point, we'll have narrative templates that we maybe can use. At some point, we'll have AI functionality that we can use. But right now, just type in your narrative like you normally would. Now, I will warn you, the narrative fields on both the web app and the iPad are kind of funky. You'll be typing along, cursor will stop moving, you're still typing, and then all of a sudden it will spew a whole bunch of text. A little frustrating. If it gets to be a problem and you're like, I'm done with this, just go open up Word, open up Notepad, type your narrative, copy, paste, and you're done. Or you can, on the iPad, hit the microphone down there and you can actually dictate into the iPad your narrative and it will type it out for you. So hopefully once we have AI, you can do that. You can hit the AI button and it will clean it up for you. So they're going to type in just some text right now. That way, when you do that in the EMS narrative, it will fast forward to the wrap up. And then now it will auto-populate CMS narrative under person involved. So you don't have to do any kind of narrative in the wrap-up section. Now, if you didn't have an EMS narrative, you would have to do your wrap-up narrative there. So if you went on a 1052, but there was no injuries, you didn't do any assessments, everyone denied medical, you would just write up clean up the list.
That's something in there too.
Well, it'll be fine. It's the signatures that your red dot is. If you look at the top, it'll be fine.
Gotcha. Yeah, but this usually goes gray after I have something in there. Maybe it's just delayed.
Yeah, it might just be a little slow. Let's go back to people involved, make sure we covered everything.
You got the last known well time at the bottom.
So there is a last known well time field. So if you want to, they came in, you're at assisted living facility and they're like, oh, we just checked on him 10 minutes ago and he was just fine. You would document it there, even though he's, been dead for 3 hours. So
Yeah, that's also important for like stroke calls too. Last known well time. The doc wants all that tracked as well. He wasn't budging on that one. So that for stroke, and then if they last saw them at 3 hours ago and they're like, yeah, they were fine, check it.
and if you've seen code 3 yet, you know the scene number very check. It's all there is. All right, we'll hit save. All right, If you got more than one person, you can add multiple people. If you have a property owner and a patient, you want to document both, you can do civilian EMS. So, all right, under operations, as far as the medical is concerned, we only have one field that's required. Overall department actions taken. This is one of those fields where you can click as many things as you want that you see appropriate for your call. For a medical, you would probably just say patient assessment. If you did some treatments and stuff, you get into your basic life support. We don't do the ALS stuff at all. We don't do transport, but if you did transport, you can select that as well. If you broke into their house, you might want to write forcible entry as well. All right. Now, we talked about the actions taken, assist ambulance. We talked about that earlier in the best practices. That is only to be clicked if you show up, MCA made patient contact already. You show up, their ambulance is sitting there, but they're doing their thing, trying to figure out how to get out of the ambulance, and you end up making patient contact first. That is not your patient. You cannot click that button.
You also don't click that button if you show up and mail's already there, but you do a bunch of stuff to help.
Yep.
Then you're still doing a report.
Yeah.
It's literally for the one where you show up and they just say, "Yeah, no, we got this."
Yep. You know, you stand there and watch them work for about 10 minutes. Like, oh yeah, you guys are good. So, then you could have called us. All right. So we'll look at the top of this section though, real quick. The command and safety. That's gonna be if you're showing up. You're taking command of either a 1052 or a fire incident. You'll start checking those things. So as you click on things, you're gonna get more bubbles popping up, more fields to engage with. If your primary incident type was structure fire, there's gonna be more things that are required in this area. So information. All right, information gives you the ability to capture information about properties, general information, emerging hazards, vehicles, equipments, and consumables. So as you get into calls, structure fires or different incidences that a little bit bigger than just your run-of-the-mill medical, you can start grabbing more information. A lot of it's going to get into your investigation side, helping the marshals with their job. 251 is going to be working in this area a lot more. It's also the area that we saw a bunch of requirements for structure fire pop up. The ones I want to touch on right now are emerging hazards, because it's not something we're terribly familiar with, but we see every day. As far as nearest is concerned, the feds are concerned, they're starting to track devices that are having problems, newer technologies that are causing fires or potentially causing fires or involved in fires. So you have electrification, you'd find like solar panels, lithium batteries, stuff like that, and power generation is similar. The CSST is the flexible gas line. It's that yellow stuff. It's got the metal, stainless metal on the inside, and it's just plastic coating on the outside. There's some ongoing concerns about that technology and how it's involved with fires. So we get a gas leak and, say someone rammed something into the line and it tore off or something like that. We would document that it was involved in that call. Or if there was a lightning strike and it wasn't grounded, they want to know that information.
That's the CSST ones on there too, because they are actually starting to have emerging problems across the country where over time in those corrugations, they're getting splits. So if you have it in your home, that would make you feel nice.
Yeah, so it's got a lot of
Unix, if I'm not mistaken.
inside the house now. No. Outside they run packs, but not inside the house.
Remember what I think it's steel pipe comes in, or black pipe, that's what we did.
Under the ground's all packs.
Yes.
All right, and then vehicles. So say you have a vehicle that was involved in a fire, that's where you're going to capture as much information about that vehicle, the owner, if there's a passenger involved, the operator, vehicle type, make, VIN number. Get the VIN number, because then when you get back to the station and you're looking up the value of that vehicle, you can type that VIN number into Kelly Blue Book. It'll pull up the values and you can document it there. So that's where we're gonna put all that information. Now, if you're on a 1052, there's no requirement for us to capture all that information.
Is there any
There's a police report. Cops are there, and they're capturing all the information as far as vehicle makes, license plates, driver's license, all that. We don't actually have requirements in our policy that we need to capture that information. If you want, because that's what you
1052, like, what should we collect information?
It's, none of that's really changed. I mean, it's, you know, we do like, especially if it's a vehicle fire, we want to know make and model.
Okay.
Because that's where they're trying to track, geez, how come all the Yugos keep starting on fire, you know, and, you know, that helps with nationwide stats and things like that. As 1052, you know, I mean, license plates are nice, you know, but it's, if you can, you can, if you can't, you can't, we get that, you know, so it's.
If you want to document that John Smith was driving this vehicle and
Yeah.
Barbara was driving this vehicle,
Yeah.
you can. For clarity, say you got called into court someday on this accident and you just wanted those notes to reference, yeah, this guy was found in the Ford and this guy was found in the Chevy.
Yeah, predominantly that's PE's job.
Yep. Yeah, they're gonna have all of that information in their report, so.
For simplicity, doing this at a call, are you condoning using the iPad to take pictures of license plates and VIN numbers and
Yep.
everything?
Well,
With your personal device.
yeah, we'll get down to the attachments and show you, you can actually go into the attachments, take a picture, and it gives you your camera. You can take all those pictures, it attaches it directly to the call.
And you can fill all this stuff out back at the station.
You can do it all back out later. The nice thing about doing that is it does not store the picture on the iPad in that case. It stores it on the call. So you don't have to worry about going back through your camera roll and selecting a bunch of pictures or filling the iPad up with a bunch of call information. So. Well, there's that too. You don't have to try and figure out how to get a picture from your iPad over to a computer anymore. So. If you do, I'll show you where that is, but if you do take picture versus attach, it's much easier. So, similar as to the vehicles, you have an equipments tab. Once again, capturing, say you got a tractor of some kind, you want to capture the information, you can do that.
Again, this would be more common in a fire report. You have a stroll fire, we want to know what the make and model is, because again, they want to be able to track if the, you know, G model 72-931 keeps causing fires all over the country, stuff like that.
Yep.
So.
And then the last one we want to touch on is consumables, and we don't have any definite direction on this yet, but this is where you would select the types of inventory you use. So say you use a non-rebreather, you didn't get a replacement from Mayo. If we want to start tracking how much equipment we're using on calls, this is where we'd be capturing that information.
Just not at this time.
Not at this time though.
Not there yet.
But someday I can see that getting used. All right, so wrap up. Almost done, I promise. All right, so you got your department narrative. So if you're on anything but an EMS call, you're going to write a department narrative there. If you're on a multi-company call that you want to capture all kinds of, or the different apparatus narratives, so you're going to get those below, but then you also, the person making the report, 251 in a structure fire, will have his narrative right there. We'll scroll down.
If we're just doing an EMS call, we can just do our whole, like we do right now, just whole narrative on the patient and.
Yep.
So when you do, it'll automatically
Yep, so
populate your CCBS.
that's all you need to make this happy. So that's an example of your two-engine narrative getting attached to the bottom. Once again, it's showing who last edited it. So if you were to click just that apparatus symbol on the incident one and then
That would be.
click your rig, it would show that. Then we get to our fun part of the signature. Officer in charge, hopefully we can get that to auto-populate, but if it's not, this is where you select your name. And then it should populate the information on that individual, and then remember completing the report. This is where you dump your signature in. So you can put your name on there. So this is also important if you are logged in under someone else and you're making the report.
Pretty good shape.
You're gonna look up your name and then you're gonna say Phil's signature, and it's probably not gonna work. Oh, it did bring it up. Bam. Even under your login. Nice. So it can automatically fill in my image of my signature.
The officer in charge, we're pretty sure once we get the right toggles on this scheduler, whoever's sitting in the captain's seat, that should all populate as well.
Yep, and it should hopefully up position an assignment as well. So, and then we can go to our attachments. And this is where you can take a photo, you can add different file types. So if she took that picture right now, it would attach it to the report. It would not save it in the camera roll. So if you delete it when you get back to the station, that picture is gone. Hell, good question. All right, and then attachments. I'm assuming this is where we're dumping the AED information as well.
Good question. But I think so.
If you can figure out how to get it off the AED onto a computer that's running this, this is where you put it.
Wait, so they weren't supposed to shut that down.
Did they?
I don't think they did.
No.
I fought them on it. They weren't supposed to shut that down. So you should still be.
They can still upload stuff,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it's still.
I trust IT both this morning.
Oh, same.
It's giving me
But
that.
I like to fight.
Determined to complete, and I put dengue, blood pressure, I didn't put it tonight.
Oh.
No, I ran into that too. If you put something in there.
So if you put in a treatment or a procedure or a medication, you have to add a time limit.
Can they just change that time to with the patient's time?
We're trying to figure out some good ways to get around that.
Oh, okay.
Guessing might have to move their
Get some shit done.
Rather than me talking about what they're gonna talk to me about, direct talk.
Let's take a 15-minute break and meet back here on the station.
Okay, I got it done.
That's what we're gonna do, take out, change.
Problem fixed, your whole. If you can't get rid of the times, we'll get stopwatches added, and then we're maybe get it to auto populate on the patient time.
Yeah, this would be that 80 to 85% mark that I was talking about. We know we're gonna run into glitches once we start actively dumping stuff in here. We're gonna, oh, we thought that worked. No, pretty sure it applies.
Even just doing the training the first day, we're like, oh, it'd be really nice to have this and this and this. So that's where the care resources came in, the code 2 came in.
Yeah, I like that. I think it was very awesome.
Gotta go to
Yeah, that'll be, say the step, baby, just gotta click.
Nothing more frustrating than having to log into something completely different.
Get the same information. Yeah, I like that.
Allie's also going to try and get us some reports that we, as captains, can see for that information.
Okay.
So we can see the status of certain things.
Yeah.
Has there been any updates as like rollout time for the other modules?
No. Well, the investigation module won't affect anybody, that's right. My best guess right now, the scheduler module for January, we will be mirroring BCS. There's still a chance that it might not work out. Because we're trying to figure out on the other half of this that we don't know. Well, we know that the schedule works phenomenal for us. Yeah. But it will not give the right data to payroll. which it should. We just have to figure out how does it work.
Yep.
And they are willing to work with us on, let's make this work. So, but it sounds like there's some issues with, right now, there's stuff that BCS does in the background that First Due is not designed to do. Because normally, so like BCS right now feeds into New World. BCS, they're scheduling, New World is our payroll software.
Yep.
First Due does these things because New World has the ability to do these other things. Right now, BCS does them instead of New World doing them. What we got to figure out is, okay, well, at First Due won't do it. Why don't you just do it in New World like everybody else does?
Yeah.
You know, so we're working some stuff out. But because we're already a bit behind on that, we know my optimism would say by the end of January, my realism would say probably not till at least the end of February. That we're going to be actually using BCS to do our schedule. But we'll mirror it in the meantime, so it'll still be
If we're mirroring that, and for the most part should be accurate, we're running the rigs off of it,
right.
and we still roll it out to the frontline people though, as
Not,
far as
not at least until we know for sure it's even going to work.
Okay.
Because there is a chance where this whole thing flops, and now we are going to go back to them. The bonus of it is, at least if we can't make it work, we have it to be able to say, okay, if you're going to have to then build this one, it has to be able to do this, and this. See, this is how they do it here. That's how we want it to do it. And you need to be able to build it that way.
Yeah.
So I still am optimistic we're going to be able to make it work. We just have to figure out how we. I mean, First Due is used under our departments all over the country. There's a whole bunch of that feed into New World to do payroll. And there is a way to solve this problem. We just have to get them to understand there's a way to solve this problem.
Yep.
Now, having said that, there's also a lot of things that the Blue Fire Department does that is completely different. Because I'm already stumped around a number of things. You know, and I told her up front, it's just like, you know, I've heard it all.
what you guys do.
We were just talking about vacation bidding the other day. Our meeting, and she's like, "Oh, so you have to know we put up the rules of bidding and blah blah blah." I'm like, cool. I said, "So how about if somebody picks a partial tour, then they get bumped to the 5th round of picking? But if a person picks the other 2 days of that partial tour, then they don't get bumped." Wow, that's really complicated. Yes, it is. But the good news is, even if we end up, so one of the two things, we're either going to change our rules because some of our rules are ridiculous, or even if we can't change the rules and we still keep doing our vacation bidding in city apps, getting it from city apps to the First Due is still way faster and easier than getting it from city apps to VCS.
Yeah.
So it's going to get better either way. But if we can figure out a way to do it in First Due, then it gets way better. Yeah. Because that just auto-populates everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're still, and again, now we're going to be talking about billing overtime next time. And we can set it, so like we can set up what rules we want, furthest behind, or preference to grade, and blah blah blah. I said, well, how about furthest behind based on their average of their last 5 work?
Mm-hmm.
They do what? That's like, yes, everything we do is more complicated than what everybody else does. Wow, so yeah, what? Again, we just change the rules to make it simpler. Yeah, they're actually working on 7 to midnight to 7 for holidays, because right now they just have the holidays like we used to have the holidays. I don't really care for that, man. 7 to midnight 7, so we're actually in development right now. Pushing on some pay 7 to midnight to 7 for holiday pay. So, but again, we don't do holiday pay in those days. We do regular time plus halftime or plus 1.0. So we'll actually just pay holiday time. Shit. So
Well, you want to look at it, around training, you should be able to.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Let me know.
So
It should be.
it should be
As
regular
far
time
as-
plus holiday.
As far as
Just
we're
be
concerned,
holiday
it should
time.
really have nothing to like classify.
But then we also have all the other classes. It's
Yeah, we'll just send this. Yeah. Like once you, that wants for my email.
No, did that say?
Some of the stuff that is basic is like, what's that? Meeting.
Yeah,
So that's what it is, yeah, so it's several solos this time, So you know, right, they were like seven sessions of full day swap. It takes 10 seconds, making sure, for each one of the swaps.
Yep.
And it automated just, you know, you can do a part time. Yep, then I'll only do it for one guy, it's not getting ready to play a swap. Look at the college, I'll have these one. The next time, follow all those. I just got another idea. Well, next time we do a beats.
And that,
You stand over there.
that's what you gotta,
I actually feel a lot better.
you gotta quantify,
I do look actually look better.
you gotta quantify the amount of time and energy it's saving you guys.
Yeah.
And then when it's realized at the price of another module, be like, we saved
Yeah.
this. We wanna take those resources and jazz to save us even more.
Wait, what are you doing that with?
Good.
Stuff with the city?
Yeah, there's.
You know that's not how it works. But like, sure, let me bend you over and give you nothing in return.
But like, if you're running a business,
100%.
That's definitely because there are some things that they can't do.
It's gonna be a
Like all these things, well, I don't know, do instead of it actually
We're
covers.
trying to figure that out. So, let's say it's
Should this.
one and done.
and it's
Okay,
like,
well,
you
but
know,
you have to-
a browser, like, it's to get a shortcut out of it.
Okay, so.
So that-
early in the year, Mark Holiday is trying to gang.
Oh, that's working.
I say an hour every. Like happens to do.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's still ain't that good.
Like, other than SharePoint, so there's an next one, like, now, because I'm trying to get something like that.
You can't penalize 100 people, because one person in another department could be complicated.
But on this,
It is. I mean, and the stuff that they built, yeah, for the people that work Monday through Friday.
This is the one that's first.
Every day, and if they're not there, they're not there. It works great. But it makes me, but it's not as well, they're different PDs, I guess. That's it. A PDF that goes out, they're the same out there every day. Yes, they're tied by changing their shifts, but they are the same person every day. I can have one person, I can remember right now was one person, 7 days, and it's just person, one shift.
Yeah.
There you go. So 7 different entries, one person.
Oh, where you pick it up?
Just getting on me. I mean, you're gonna be 5 at least, you know?
But I never nobody saw
Take his spot.
one thing I came in and I had people that were moving, you know, when I was working as 251. It was some deal where I couldn't fill it overtime, but I could at 6 o'clock, and then I had a couple of people do trades, but I initially went, it's kind of something. I'm like, nope, I gotta make sure everybody gets their correct day. So it took me another 25, 30 minutes just to get everybody information. And
I agree. It is a treat. I will not see the benefit of you come to this. There's my feelings. I'll be here, guys. I'll be happy for you.
Sweet stuff, we're recording. I'll sit finish this next work. I'll sit and drop in, because there's no more to talk.
Yeah, that's what we got. Thank you. Fucking go again.
Could we just run through it, basically pretend we do one out as a class?
Yeah, you can do my report. Here, I got one for you.
Yeah, we're not recording in first do yet. That's how it is. But we can do it.
How about we just go slow this?
Thanks, did it. Authorizing. And here, Joel, I just want that.
You already did.
You want to talk about the authorize?
Authorize.
After they do a complete, there's still a thing that says authorize on the
pending authorization.
pending authorization, which
Well, we like that.
We were getting rid of that.
are we getting rid of it? Still there, so,
Well, that's because it's not going anywhere.
okay,
Like, it's not sending anywhere right now.
okay.
December 17th, mine should say,
Everything says incomplete currently.
I just did hit your dates again now. Line your dates up again.
Yeah.
We gotta figure that one out.
So not started, incomplete, not started, incomplete, not started.
keep going.
They're all.
Keep going.
If you just click status, it'll sort it by alphabetical, so it'll lump them all together. And you can get C in the message.
Alright. Anything else I can do?
Authorization.
Alright, so since,
It's authorizing them.
Well, that's, anybody can right now.
I think anytime you hit complete right now, it's pending authorization, because it's not going.
It's,
Right.
that's what we found, but it's not, we will have to authorize all reports.
Oh, really?
Two of them. That's what you, they would authorize. I think both of them are.
Is that a 251 thing?
I'm not really in the report, so I think that's the purpose of it, is so that in some departments that are smaller, they actually have a person that goes and reviews all the reports and that hits on the guys. We're not doing that, there's 16,000 reports a year, no, not happening. Well, I don't know what we're gonna do with that, so we gotta,
Okay.
that's gonna be a high level question, chief level question of how they wanna do that. So.
Maybe they'll pay.
So going back to,
Maybe they'll create
so there's,
report authorization.
Yeah, there you go.
so Ellie's still in this report, you can see it's only a view only for me. But if I have to go in and add my rig,